After winning $65 million in lottery, my parents kicked me out of my own house. No space for beggars, my mother said. I stood there homeless, in front of my own home. I didn't argue. I just smiled and walked away. 2 weeks later, at the final lottery claim, the lawyer looked around and asked, "Where is the real owner?" My parents turned pale. Before I tell you what actually happened, please like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's begin. My name is Elena Carter. I'm 38 years old, a business consultant, a wife, and until 2 weeks ago, I thought I had a loving family. The house I grew up in still stands at the end of Maple Street. White walls, blue windows, a small garden my father never watered but loved to show off to neighbors. Legally, the house belongs to me. I bought it 8 years ago after my business finally succeeded. My parents had financial problems back then, so I asked them to move in with me. It wasn't charity. They were my parents. Helping them felt natural. My husband Daniel travels overseas most of the year managing company projects, so most days it was just me and my parents living together. At least, that's what I believed. Every morning my mother drank coffee on my balcony and told people, "Our family home has always been ours." I never corrected her. I didn't care about credit. I only wanted peace. 2 months ago, everything changed. One evening, I came home from work and found my parents unusually excited. My father was pacing the living room, holding a small paper in his shaking hands. My mother looked like she had seen a miracle. "We won," she whispered. I laughed. "Won what?" My father turned the television toward me. The lottery numbers were displayed on the screen. Every single number matched. They had won $65 million. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then my mother screamed with joy and hugged me. We celebrated that night like children. We ordered expensive food, called relatives, and my parents kept repeating how life had finally rewarded them. I felt happy for them. Honestly, I did. After years of struggles, they deserved good news. But something strange happened almost immediately. The next morning, my mother was already making plans. She talked about buying luxury cars, hiring staff, traveling first class, renovating the house. Not asking, deciding. Workers arrived 2 days later without warning. They measured rooms, moved furniture, and discussed changes as if I didn't exist. When I asked what was happening, my father smiled casually. "Well, things are different now." Different. That word stayed in my head. Neighbors suddenly treated my parents like celebrities. People came to congratulate them. Journalists even stopped by once. And slowly, I noticed something painful. Whenever someone asked about the house, my parents said, "This is our home. Not family home. Not our daughter's home. Just theirs." I told myself it didn't matter. Money changes people temporarily, I thought. They would calm down. I was wrong. 1 week later, Daniel left for Singapore for a long project. I drove him to the airport, kissed him goodbye, and promised everything at home was perfect. I didn't want him worrying. That night, I returned home expecting dinner together like always. Instead, I saw my suitcases placed near the front door. At first, I thought my mother was cleaning. Then she looked at me cold. No smile. No warmth. My father stood behind her, silent. My heart started beating faster. "Why are my bags here?" I asked. My mother crossed her arms. Her voice was calm, almost proud. "Elena," she said, "things have changed." And in that moment, I felt something inside me quietly break. I forced a small smile, thinking maybe she was joking. "What do you mean?" I asked. My mother glanced around the living room, the same room I had designed, paid for, and decorated. Her eyes no longer looked like a daughter's mother. They looked like a stranger measuring territory. "We can't live like before," she continued. "Your father and I have a different lifestyle now." I laughed nervously. "Okay, and?" My father finally spoke. "You should start thinking about moving out." For a second, I didn't understand the words. "Move out?" I blinked. "Move out of where?" My mother pointed toward the door. "Out of this house." The silence that followed felt unreal. I actually looked behind me, expecting someone else to walk in, someone they were talking to. But no, They were looking directly at me. "This is my house," I said softly. My mother sighed as if I were being difficult. "Elena, don't start drama. We won the lottery. Our life is different now. We need space, privacy, people like us around. People like us." The words stung more than shouting ever could. I swallowed hard. "I've lived here for years. You live here because I asked you to." My father shook his head. "That was before. Now we can afford better. Better. Not family. Better." I noticed the new locks already installed on the door. My stomach dropped. They had planned this. While I was at work. While Daniel was out of the country. My suitcases were packed perfectly. Even my framed photos were stacked neatly beside them. My entire life reduced to luggage. My mother picked up one of the bags and pushed it toward me. "There's no space for beggars anymore," she said coldly. The sentence echoed in my ears. Beggars. After everything. After years of support. After trusting them with my home. I waited for guilt to appear on their faces. It never did. Instead, my father avoided eye contact, already scrolling through his phone like the conversation was finished. I realized then. They truly believed they had won everything. Power. Control. Ownership. Even the right to erase me. I stepped outside slowly. The evening air felt colder than usual. Neighbors watched from across the street. Some whispered. Some stared with curiosity. No one asked questions. The front door closed behind me. Then I heard it. Click. The lock turning. They locked me out of my own house. For a moment, tears burned behind my eyes. I could have screamed. I could have called the police. I could have told them the truth right there. But instead, I started laughing quietly. Not because it was funny. Because suddenly, everything became clear. People don't show who they are when they struggle. They show who they are when they believe they've won. And my parents believed they had won. I picked up my bags. No anger. No shouting. Just calm. My mother opened the curtain slightly to watch me leave. She expected begging. Apologies. Maybe tears. Instead, I looked at the house one last time. And smiled. Then I walked away. That night, I checked into a small hotel. I sat alone on the bed, staring at my phone. Dozens of missed calls from relatives congratulating my parents. News articles already called them the lucky couple. I turned off the screen. For the first time since childhood, I felt completely alone. But I also felt something else. Clarity. If they wanted to play this game, I would let them. Because some victories only look real at the beginning. The next morning, I made one phone call. "Hello," I said calmly when the line connected. "I need to speak with a lawyer." And that was the moment my parents' celebration quietly began counting down to its end. 2 weeks passed. 2 very long weeks. While my parents enjoyed their new fame, I stayed quiet. News channels interviewed them. Neighbors suddenly admired them. Social media called them the luckiest couple in the city. They bought designer clothes, reserved luxury vacations, even planned to sell my house after receiving the lottery money. I watched everything silently, not with anger, with patience, because the truth doesn't rush. It waits for the right moment. My lawyer, Mr. Harris, was calm and precise. During our first meeting, he listened carefully while reviewing documents I placed on the table. Property papers, identification records, purchase confirmations, official registrations. Every piece of evidence connected to the house was clear. Legally, it belonged to me. But that wasn't the real battle. The real question was the lottery. He looked at me and asked one thing. "Are you ready to let them believe they've already won?" I nodded. Yes, because sometimes the strongest move is silence. Finally, the day arrived. The official lottery claim ceremony. A large hall filled with cameras, reporters, and officials. My parents entered proudly, dressed like celebrities. My mother wore expensive jewelry she had already bought on credit. My father smiled for every camera flash. They waved like royalty. They truly believed this was the happiest day of their lives. I arrived quietly and stayed outside the hall with my lawyer. They didn't notice me. Not yet. Inside, officials prepared the final paperwork before releasing the money. One last legal verification remained. Standard procedure. Nothing unusual. At least, that's what everyone thought. The head lottery lawyer stood at the podium reviewing documents. My parents sat confidently across from him. He adjusted his glasses, looked at the file again, then frowned slightly. The room grew quiet. He cleared his throat. "Before we proceed with the payout," he said, "I need clarification." My parents smiled politely. "Yes," my mother asked. The lawyer looked around the room and spoke clearly. "Where is the real owner of the ticket?" The sentence landed like thunder. My parents froze. "I beg your pardon," my father said. "We are the winners." The lawyer shook his head gently. "These documents indicate the registered purchaser and legal claimant is someone else." Confusion spread through the room. Reporters whispered. Cameras turned. My parents' confidence began to crack. "That's impossible," my mother insisted. "We have the ticket." The lawyer nodded calmly. "Yes, you possess the ticket." He paused. "But possession is not ownership." At that moment, the doors behind them opened, and I walked in. Every head turned. My parents stared at me as if they had seen a ghost. My mother's face lost all color. I walked calmly toward the table beside my lawyer. No anger, no drama, just truth. Mr. Harris placed the final document in front of the officials. Purchase verification, identity confirmation, legal registration. The lottery ticket was officially mine. I had bought it, registered it, and legally protected it long before anyone knew it had one. The room exploded with murmurs. Cameras flashed rapidly. My father's hands started shaking. My mother whispered, "Elena, what is this?" I looked at her quietly. "The truth," I said. The same daughter they called a beggar was the real winner. The officials transferred the claim to my name. Just like that, their dream disappeared. No shouting, no revenge speech, nothing dramatic. Because justice didn't need anger. It only needed facts. As security escorted them aside for questioning, my mother finally understood. They hadn't lost money. They had lost trust. And that was something no lottery could buy back. Outside the building, reporters rushed toward me. One asked, "Do you have anything to say to your parents?" I smiled gently. "Yes." I looked straight at the cameras. "Never forget who stood beside you before you became lucky." Then I walked away. Calm. Free. And finally, home.